Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Last night there was a lot of ranting and raving and bitching and complaining on my part. I apologize for that, but I had one hell of a time getting this thing set up and getting it to work properly. So just in case I left something out, I'm going to try to help you guys out so that you guys don't have to go through what I went through. And I'm going to go over and give you some of the tips and tell you some of the things that are going to have to be done. Okay, where should I start? Okay, first thing, make sure you put these two water lines on first, because it's really difficult to get a clamp on this hose here if you have this head unit installed. So that's number one, make sure you have these water hoses in. Number two, make sure you have this heater hose and all this other junk. Have it tied up and above the fan shroud. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to squeeze it through that little gap right there. Right here. I can't even get my finger through it. It's not enough room. Okay. This bolt, you're going to have to cut about 1/4 of an inch off of this bolt, because it won't fully engage and it winds up hitting the head unit here. So you got to cut this bolt. Then, what else? Oh yeah. If you're going to use the A&A Corvette Supercharger kit instructions as a guide, it says to use the thinnest spacer here, but you're gonna have to actually put the thinner spacer down here, and the reason for that is because this adjustable tensioner will strike this as you try to crank it down, put tension on the belt, and it'll limit how much you could tighten your belt. So you got to put the thinner spacer down here, and then don't use the washers that come in the kit with the bolt that goes through here. You're going to have to use as thin as possible washer, or don't use any washer, but then you're going to go all the metal on the bracket. So I got a washer that was like 55 thousandths in thickness, or I think it was 56 thousandths in thickness, versus theirs, which was an eighth, which is a 0.125. So by using a thin washer, the bolt sits below the surface, which allows this tensioner to properly slide and adjust. Now, A&A Corvettes, when I told them my setup, you got to tell them what size pulley you're running. I'm running a 4.1 inch pulley. So with the Procharger and the 4.1 inch pulley, they recommended a belt that is 92 7/8 to 92 1/8 inches long. I got a belt that is 92 1/8 inches long, and I personally think that is too long. So I would actually go with a belt that is a little smaller than 92 1/8 if you're running the same size pulley. If you have a larger pulley, you're going to need a different belt. So if you're running a 410 pulley like I am, I would go with, let's see, this is 92 1/8. I go with maybe 91 3/4. Or even maybe 92, I don't know. Go with 91 3/4. Or 91 7/8. Somewhere in that area. Because when I try, now the reason why I say go with a smaller belt is because because this isn't even as tight as it can go right now. I could crank down more on this, but the bolt almost bottoms out here. You can see you have like a U-shaped slot. So when I crank down on it all the way, the bolt is actually almost at its end point there. So yeah, I would definitely go with the smaller belt because you're going to run out of room to tighten this up. So that's my opinion. So what else do I need to tell you guys to do as a tip to help you out? I think that's it. Cut that bolt, put the thinner spacer down there, use a very thin washer over here on this bolt that goes through. Get a little smaller belt if you have a 410 pulley. Make sure these wires are up above the fan shroud. And that's it. Oh yeah, and then first get the belt around the alternator, power steering pump, water pump, and harmonic balancer. You gotta like hold it up here, drop this in with one hand, start to wrap it around these two pulleys over here. Then you gotta like knock it off there to install this. After this is installed, then you go and you pop it back on the alternator. Then you come here, you place this adjuster in here, and you tighten the adjuster. Well, I hope that helps you out. So I hope this is the best form of instructions out there possible, because it doesn't come with any instructions. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to work on the tubing, getting all the tubing lined up and in place. Alright, so I'll be back.